Welcome to The Advocates. I'm Aaron Dean. The family of a man who was shot and killed while walking along a California highway is now suing the Highway Patrol. Investigators say officers were trying to get Jesse Dominguez away from traffic. Then they say that he used his personal taser on the officer during a struggle before he was even shot 7 times. Now, the family's lawyer says that he was an aspiring actor suffering a mental health crisis.
7 times. We thought it was 4 times, and that's why we included 4 times. But it turns out that he was shot 7 times when he was on the ground. He was not an imminent threat to this officer at any time. The officer was poorly trained, and he was a trigger-happy cop. Bang, bang, bang! To a human being.
A North Carolina woman who was punched during a violent arrest is no longer facing charges. It all started when officers say that they spotted Christina Peary and her fiance smoking marijuana at a bus stop in Charlotte. Police claimed that the couple resisted arrest and that an officer punched her in the face during the arrest. She was charged with resisting arrest and marijuana possession. Again, those charges were dropped. The body camera video of the arrest hasn't been released publicly. The families of the Sandy Hook shooting victims have offered Alex Jones a deal to settle the nearly $1 billion he owes them. The InfoWars host lost a pair of civil cases over false claims that he made that the 2012 shooting was a hoax. Jones was offered to pay nearly $1.5 billion, but filed for bankruptcy. Now, court documents say that the families want Jones to pay at least $8.5 million per year for a decade and 50% of any income over $9 million. A second option was proposed to liquidate Jones's non-exempt assets. Former First Lady Carter's legacy as an advocate is being remembered. She impacted several communities and gave visibility to many issues like mental health and equality. The Advocate's John Casey says that she was ahead of her time. John, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Nice to see you, Aaron.
Nice to see you. It's always nice to have you, and it's always nice to have a familiar face join me in front of the camera virtually.
Likewise.
Yes. So, as we know, right now, Americans are mourning the death of former First Lady Rosalynn Carter. There's been an outpour, as we know, of respect paid to her and the Carter family. What was she like as First Lady and also as an advocate?
Well, first of all, she married probably one of the most stubborn and bull-headed people in the world. Jimmy Carter never gives up. And he's been like that through all his life. And it showed yesterday when, at 99 and in very frail health, he showed up for her memorial service. So she met her match in him because she was equally very strong in terms of being an advocate, and most primarily for mental health, when far and away before anyone else really cared about the issue, and also in acknowledging the queer community. They were trailblazers in that respect.
Yeah. And, we're going to touch on those two topics as well. Like you said, she was on the front line of mental health issues and provided much needed visibility to it. That visibility led to the Mental Health Systems Act of 1980. Now, how did she go about advocating for mental health specifically?
Well, when Jimmy was running for governor of Georgia in 1966, he lost that election. But she was standing outside of a factory where overnight workers were coming out. And she said to a woman, she said, I hope that you're able to go home and rest right now. And the woman said, no, I can't. My husband has to go to work and we have a daughter with a mental illness. So I have my second job to take care of her. And that sparked in her a 50-year odyssey in trying to get attention and legislation passed on behalf of people who are suffering from mental illness.
And there's so many other fights that, she was a part of and that she fought. What are some other legacy items, that people might not know about her?
Caregivers. She started the first caregiver foundation long before caregiver, which is now something corporate America is addressing. So she started that back after she left the White House. So that was over 40 years ago. And because she recognized the need caregivers have. Being a caregiver is actually two jobs. And some people have to give up their job in order to be a full-time caregiver. So it was that, and it was also her acceptance of the LGBTQ individual. You have to remember the Carters were born-again Christians. They were evangelists. And at that time, the born-again Christians had this feeling that, LGBTQ people were sinners, and the Carters did not feel that way. They welcomed them into the White House.
And Rosalynn and Jimmy Carter also co-founded the Carter Center, to take on today's challenges. What's been the impact of that organization?
Well, Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter were partners in everything. And Jimmy Carter, when he negotiated the peace settlement between Egypt and Israel, it started them on another odyssey, which was to bring about peace in the world. So and Jimmy Carter won the Nobel Peace Prize for that. So the Carter Center was about monitoring elections around the world, enhancing democracies, helping third world countries establish democratic elections. They did so much around the world in terms of supporting democracy. And Jimmy and Rosalynn were partners in that too. They were partners in everything. And that's what made them so unique.
Yeah. And, like we said, she's passed, but, overall, what do you feel her legacy is going to be as the years go on and as the textbooks update and all of that stuff? What do you think they're going to say about her?
Well, I think as a couple, they will go down in history probably as the consequential presidential couple that was in love. They were together their entire lives. They knew each other and were married for 77 years. So that, and the fact that she was a partner, long before Hillary Clinton came along, Rosalynn Carter was attending cabinet meetings and meetings in the White House, and she brought a briefcase to work. She was way ahead of her time in that. She got criticized so much because at that time, women, there was still a lot of chauvinistic feelings about women in the workplace. So that's going to be her legacy too, as being a true partner in her husband's presidency. They were a match, and probably always will be more, and even more so in post White House. They set a precedent for presidents to be not just go and retire, but to actually do good in the world.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for all of this information. We greatly appreciate it. You are a wealth of knowledge. You have so much information that you can share with us. And I'm always so glad when you join us because I always learn something new that I didn't know before. So thank you again.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for having me, and happy holidays to you.
Thanks so much for watching The Advocates. Download the app in the Apple or Google Play Store to stream us live, and you can even subscribe on our YouTube channel. For The Advocate channel, I'm Aaron Dean.